Did Parallel just kill Scipius? The latest Parallel patch notes have been published, and this has to be one of the best patch notes to date. That said, I'm certain some of you are going to think that I am wrong. Comment below with your thoughts and tell me why you think I'm an idiot. First, I'd like to call out that these patch notes are actually a preview. Something that we've been asking the team for is more advanced notice on patches, and especially when they include balance changes. And that is even more important with so many tournaments going on right now. And once again, the team has delivered. We actually don't even have a date for this patch yet, but I would expect to see the patch drop somewhere towards the end of the month. So early next week seems about right based on previous patch history. I love this adjustment. Keep it coming, team. Now let's dive in. We are going to get another set of UI and UX updates as promised. Collapsible navigation and menu scaling looks solid. There's also going to be a feature to select who goes first in your AI matches, which is nice. Perhaps it's a preview and we'll be getting that feature in tournament play in the future. Prime earnings have also been adjusted as well. This is a big win for real players. You now need to be at gold 5 or higher in order to earn Prime. And this is a really, really low bar. It mostly is just going to cut off the bots that are farming Prime. Excellent adjustment. Now for the main course, our buffs and nerfs. Markolians, Earthens, and Shrouds, you're sitting this one out. Instead, we are going to focus on buffing our Augencore friends and nerfing KATHARI. First, Killbox is being increased to 6 cost, delaying Scipius's win condition by a full turn. Killbox on 5 really was a problem. Scipius generally doesn't run Take It or Leave It or the Shard, and I doubt that changes. So this effectively is a full turn delay. That said, I don't think that this changes too many games all by itself. It's a little bit harder to hold your Killbox, and there's one less opportunity within the game to cast it, but I don't think that many results are going to flip on this one alone. But we do see another nerf to a significant Scipius tool. As everyone expected, High Density Genetic Replicator gets hit too. But, and this is a pretty big but, only kinda sorta. High Density Genetic Replicator now costs +1 for each relic already on the field. That means the first one is totally unchanged. You can still drop it on 2 if that's your prerogative. And if it gets removed before you play a second one, then the second one is effectively unchanged as well. But if you play a relic on turn 2, then you drop a second relic on turn 3, it's going to cost you 3 energy. Now, Scipius naturally lets you create a 0/1 token for free on many turns. So previously, a turn 3 with a second relic would have looked like this. You get the 0/1 adjutant for nothing. You get a second relic for 2, and then you play a Reliant Gamma or Belarusi Striker for 1. Now there's no room for that extra attacker. Keep in mind, when Scipius goes Relic on 2, that means that they have spent a maximum of 1 energy on units, and that means that they haven't presented their opponent with that much to deal with yet. The relics themselves, though, are just a bit scary. To be clear, in many cases when Scipius players have the chance to drop a second relic, they definitely are still going to do that. It's a really strong card. This makes that strategy go a bit less wide though, and combined with the delay to Killbox, Scipius should be a little bit less consistent, but I think is still going to be very strong. Many of you are going to say that this isn't enough, and perhaps that will prove to be true. It's certainly a lighter touch than we have seen to any nerfs in the past. However, I expect in the next tournaments that we'll see at least a little bit of variety with the bans. We also have one final nerf. It is a minor adjustment with massive implications on no snitching. It no longer allows you to target paragons. Nehemiah, take a sigh of relief. It's also a sneaky Marco nerf. Sure, it was a very strong option for all players, but because Kathy actually wants to be no-snitched, it was probably strongest in the Kathy deck. Within Markolian itself, Kathy loses the most with this change. So ADHQ and Lemmy get a little bit closer to Kathy. In the end, I expect that Sibius players will mostly just accept the nerfs and keep playing their decks, albeit at a slightly reduced win rate. Now, if we can strengthen our Augencore friends, but not universal decks, I think we end up with a really healthy meta. Let's take a look at the Augencore buffs. Foundry Technician is now a 2/2 for 2 energy. Early units have generally been pretty weak for Augencore, but this one I don't think changes that too much. Rummaging Researcher is still better in my opinion. Grawl, however, gets a powerful Aftermath ability. Put the top card of your deck into your bank. It's basically a much better version of Logistics Support Cruiser now. It already was a really solid unit, so this likely makes it a must-have in Augencore decks. Ishkur, a Rax Enforcer, to date has probably been the weakest Battle Pass card that we've seen. I'll be honest, I didn't even remember what it originally did. Previously, it required the board to be set up to have any real impact. Now it provides a free nanobot on muster, so it can at least try to high roll for some comeback ability. I don't expect that we're going to see a whole lot of Ishkur based just on this change though. The Swarm is another Iraq targeted buff. The Swarm can now be destroyed on command, which makes it a lot more flexible. Maybe we will see some Iraq on ladder. Triumph of Iron also gets a much needed buff. This was clearly the worst Triumph card in the set, and it gets a similar buff to Ishkur. It now creates 2 nanobots. It's not Iraq exclusive, but again, Iraq uses nanobots the best, so perhaps we will see more Iraq on ladder. Honestly, I think none of the individual Iraq targeted buffs seem super strong all by themselves, but together I do think that they give Iraq a chance. It's at least worth experimenting with. Let's see what players come up with. Repeater Cannon, though, is the crazy big buff. This one is legit scary, and it's so cool that it makes me want to try some Augencore. Repeater Cannon drops from 5 cost to 4 cost, and it now adds armed to the upgraded unit, in addition to adding the ability to attack twice. Attacking twice was already really strong. For 5, that was kind of expensive, but for 4, it's definitely much more viable, and now both of those attacks are going to include armed, which means that the unit likely isn't going to take any damage on either attack. That is really strong and really scary for any unit-based deck, which is most of them, and definitely Sibius. Drop this on a big unit and Sibius players are really fucked. Finally, we see Vox Tech Jammer gets a minor tweak as well. Previously, Vox Tech allowed you to conceal a banked card when dealing damage. Now it can conceal or reveal, which makes it a lot more useful. I'll be honest, Augencore is not my specialty. My gut says that these buffs are pretty strong and an Augencore meta is not out of the question. At minimum, this looks like plenty to at least make Augencore feel balanced along with the rest of the parallels. But we will find out soon enough. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving me a subscribe and a follow on Twitter. It costs you nothing and really helps to support the channel.